Imagine you're alive 5,000 years ago. No phones, no cars, no McDonald's. You're a farmer, and you just grew a bunch of wheat. Your neighbor raises chickens. You want some chickens for eggs. Your neighbor wants fish. Uh-oh, you don't have fish. You have wheat. So now you need to find someone who has fish and wants wheat. You trade your wheat for fish. Then you take the fish to your neighbor and finally get those chickens. Exhausting, right? This is called barter. And here's the crazy part. For thousands of years, this is how humans traded. No money, just stuff for other stuff. And it was a nightmare. Because what if the person with fish doesn't want wheat? What if they want shoes? Now you need to find someone with shoes who wants wheat. Trade for the shoes, then trade the shoes for fish, then trade the fish for chickens. You could spend your entire day just trying to get eggs for breakfast. This is called the double coincidence of wants problem. Fancy words that mean both people have to want what the other person has at the exact same time. And that almost never happens. Without a solution to this problem, cities can't exist, complex economies can't exist, civilization can't exist. Humanity needed something better. We needed something everyone would accept, something that represented value, something you could break into smaller pieces, something that wouldn't rot, rust, or break. We needed money. And here's the shocking part. Every civilization, from ancient Egypt to China to the Americas, figured out the same answer independently. Gold. But why? Why not silver? Why not copper? Why not pretty shells or rare stones? What made gold so special that for 5,000 years, every single human civilization chose it? Imagine you're on a playground. You want to create a trading system. What would make the perfect trading card? First, everyone needs to want it. If only you think your favorite rock is valuable, it's not money, it's just your weird rock collection. Second, it has to be hard to get. If everyone can find unlimited rocks, rocks are worthless. Third, it can't break, rot, or disappear. If your trading card gets wet and falls apart, it's useless. Fourth, you need to be able to divide it. You can't break a cow in half, but you can break gold into smaller pieces. Fifth, you need to be able to recognize it. You need to know it's real, not fake. Let's test other materials. Iron? Rusts. Leave it outside and it turns to orange dust. Food? Rots. A bag of wheat goes bad. A chicken eventually dies. Shells? Break easily, and if you live by the beach, they're everywhere, not rare at all. Paper? Burns, tears, gets wet and dissolves. Copper? Turns green, corrodes, not rare enough. Silver? Close, but tarnishes and turns black over time. Gold? Let me tell you about gold. Gold doesn't rust. You can bury gold in the ground for 1,000 years, dig it up, and it looks brand new. When archaeologists opened King Tutankhamun's tomb in 1922, a tomb sealed for 3,300 years, they found a death mask made of solid gold, 22 pounds of pure gold. It gleamed like it was made yesterday. Gold is rare. If you gathered every ounce of gold ever mined in human history, every ring, every coin, every bar, and every vault from ancient Egypt to Fort Knox, it would all fit in just 4 Olympic-sized swimming pools. That's it. All the gold in the world would fit in a single warehouse. Gold is beautiful. It catches the light. It shines. Humans are naturally attracted to shiny things. It's in our DNA. Gold is indestructible. You can't burn it. Water doesn't hurt it. Acid barely touches it. It's one of the least reactive elements on Earth. Scientists say gold is so stable that it will outlast everything else humans have ever made. Gold is soft and workable. You can hammer gold so thin it becomes see-through. You can stretch 1 ounce of gold into a wire 50 miles long. That means you can shape it into coins, jewelry, anything you need. Gold is easy to verify. It has a specific weight and color. If someone tries to sell you fake gold, you can bite it. Yes, people used to bite gold coins, and if it's real gold, it leaves teeth marks because it's soft. Drop it and it sounds different than other metals. In other words, Gold is the ultimate playground trading card that never gets damaged, everyone wants, and you can't fake. Ancient humans figured this out, not through science, through thousands of years of trial and error. And once they figured it out, everything changed. Around 3000 BCE, that's 5,000 years ago, the ancient Mesopotamians started using gold as money. Not coins, they didn't have those yet. They used gold in specific weights. Merchants would weigh gold dust or small nuggets on scales and trade them. But ancient Egypt took gold to another level. The Egyptians believed gold was the flesh of the gods, literally. They thought Ra, the sun god, was made of gold. That's why pharaohs covered themselves in it. That's why they built golden statues and filled tombs with gold treasures. When King Tutankhamun died around 1323 BCE, they buried him with over 5,000 objects. Many were made of solid gold. His famous funeral mask? 22 pounds of pure gold. Why? Because Egyptians believed you could take wealth to the afterlife, and gold, being eternal, was the only thing worthy of eternity. But here's the thing. Egyptians used gold as a measure of value, but they didn't create standardized coins. You still had to weigh the gold every time. The first real coins, pieces of metal with the same weight and official markings, appeared around 600 BCE in a place called Lydia in what's now Turkey. King Croesus of Lydia created the first standardized gold coins. Each coin had the exact same weight and purity. You didn't need scales. You didn't need to test it. The king's stamp guaranteed its value. This was revolutionary. Suddenly, trade became simple. A merchant in Greece could accept a Lydian gold coin and know exactly what it was worth. This was the birth of real money as we know it. The phrase rich as Croesus comes from this king. He was so wealthy from gold that his name became synonymous with being rich. Even today, 2,600 years later, we still say it. From Lydia, gold coins spread like wildfire. Within 200 years, they were everywhere. Greece, Persia, Rome, India, China, and Egypt. Different empires, different languages, different religions, but they all agreed on one thing. Gold was money. A Roman soldier could take a gold coin and trade it in Egypt. A Chinese merchant could use gold in Persia. A Viking could take gold from England and spend it in Constantinople. Gold transcended everything. It was the first truly global currency. For the next 2,500 years, from 600 BCE to 1900 CE, gold was how the world measured wealth. Empires rose and fell, languages changed, religions spread, technologies advanced, but through it all, gold remained constant, the one thing every human civilization agreed on. Within 200 years, gold coins spread from Turkey to China, from Egypt to Britain. Every civilization that touched gold money adopted it. No one forced them, they just chose gold. For the next 2,500 years, gold was money. But gold does something terrible to humans. It makes them do crazy things. It makes them conquer. It makes them kill. It makes them travel across oceans to places they've never been. And that's where our story gets dark. Let's talk about Rome, the most powerful empire in ancient history. Rome ran on gold. Their main coin was called the aureus, made of solid gold. Roman soldiers were paid in gold. Roman taxes were collected in gold. The entire economy depended on having enough gold. But here's the problem. Rome didn't have many gold mines, so where did they get their gold? They took it from other people. Julius Caesar, yes, that Julius Caesar, invaded Gaul, modern-day France, partly because of gold. The Celtic tribes in Gaul had rich gold mines. Caesar conquered them, seized the mines, and took over 1,000 tons of gold back to Rome. 1,000 tons, that's 2 million pounds of gold from a single conquest. Romans even had a saying, all roads lead to gold. We remember it as all roads lead to Rome, but the original meaning was clear. Rome needed gold to survive. And when the gold dried up, Rome fell. By 400 CE, Rome had exhausted most gold sources. They couldn't pay soldiers. They couldn't maintain roads. The empire collapsed. Imagine if your entire country ran out of lunch money and suddenly all the teachers went home. That's basically what happened to Rome. But Rome's gold hunger was nothing compared to what came next. October 12th, 1492, Christopher Columbus lands in the Americas. He's looking for a route to India and its spices. Instead, he finds islands full of indigenous people wearing gold jewelry. Columbus writes in his journal, "Gold is most excellent. Gold constitutes treasure, and he who possesses it has all he needs in this world." He wasn't looking for friends. He was looking for gold. Fast forward to 1519, a Spanish conquistador named Hernán Cortés arrives in Mexico with 600 men. The Aztec Empire has millions of people and the most advanced civilization in the Americas. The Aztecs greet Cortés with gifts, gold statues, gold jewelry, intricate art made by master craftsmen over generations. Cortés takes Aztec Emperor Montezuma hostage and demands a ransom, a room filled with gold. Not a small room, a room 17 feet wide, 22 feet long, filled with gold up to a line as high as a man could reach. The Aztecs pay it. They fill the room with gold, priceless artifacts, sculptures, art that had taken generations to create, worth billions of dollars today. What does Cortés do? He melts it all down into bars and ships it to Spain. All that art, all that history, all that culture, destroyed, turned into gold bricks. But the ransom wasn't enough. Cortés wanted more. He wanted the source. He wanted the mines. Here's the horrifying truth. Over the next 100 years, an estimated 20 million indigenous people died in the Spanish conquest of the Americas. 20 million. That's more than the entire population of New York, Los Angeles, and Chicago combined. They died from diseases the Spanish brought. They died in wars, and millions died working in gold and silver mines as slaves. The Potosi Silver Mountain in Bolivia became one of the most productive mines in history. It also became one of the deadliest. An estimated 8 million people died mining that mountain. 8 million lives for silver and gold. Spain found so much gold in the Americas that they sent ships, treasure fleets carrying 180 plus tons of gold and silver every single year back to Europe. Spain became the richest country on earth practically overnight. And then something shocking happened. That gold destroyed them. Here's where it gets crazy. Spain found more gold than any country in history. They should have been the richest, most powerful empire forever, right? Wrong. Spain made a critical mistake. They thought having gold was having wealth. Let me explain like you're 5. Imagine everyone in your class has $5 for lunch. A slice of pizza costs $2. Everyone can afford lunch. Now, imagine the teacher suddenly gives everyone $100. Does that make everyone rich? No, because now the pizza seller sees everyone has $100 and raises the price to $40 per slice. You have more money, but prices went up even faster. That's called inflation. Too much money makes money worth less. Spain flooded Europe with so much gold that gold became less valuable. Prices exploded. Between 1500 and 1600, the price of bread in Spain increased 500%, 5 times more expensive in just 100 years. Spanish workers couldn't afford to live. Spanish soldiers couldn't afford equipment. Spain had warehouses full of gold, but couldn't buy anything with it because everyone raised their prices. Meanwhile, countries like England, France, and the Netherlands weren't finding gold. They were building industries, creating businesses, manufacturing goods, developing trade networks. Spain had gold. Other countries had actual economies. Guess what happened? Spain bought everything from other countries. Spanish gold flowed out to England, France, and the Netherlands. By 1600, just 100 years after becoming the richest country on Earth, Spain was bankrupt. The country that found the most gold lost everything. The fearful lesson: having gold isn't the same as having wealth.
Gold is only valuable if you can trade it for things you need, and if everyone has too much gold, it becomes worthless. Spain learned this lesson too late, but other countries were watching. Britain, France, the Netherlands, they were learning how to use gold differently, not just to hoard it, but to build something with it, something that would change the world forever. They were about to invent the gold standard.
January 24th, 1848. A carpenter named James Marshall is building a sawmill in California. He looks down in the water and sees something gleaming. Gold. News spreads, not slowly, fast. Within months, people from all over the world are rushing to California. 300,000 people flood into California in just 2 years. It's called the Gold Rush. Here's where it gets crazy. Ships arriving in San Francisco harbor were abandoned. Crews would literally jump off the ship and run to the gold fields, leaving entire ships empty in the harbor. Captains couldn't find sailors because everyone wanted to mine gold. Prices went insane. A loaf of bread cost $50, which is worth $2,000 in today's money. A dozen eggs, $90. A pair of boots, $100. A man named Levi Strauss showed up to sell mining supplies. He made work pants out of tough denim fabric. Miners loved them. Levi Strauss became a millionaire, not from finding gold, but from selling pants to miners. The people selling shovels got rich. The people digging for gold? Most died poor. See, everyone rushed to California hoping to get rich, but gold is rare, remember? Most miners found nothing. They spent everything they had traveling to California, spent months digging in rivers, and went home broke. Meanwhile, the merchants selling supplies made fortunes. The lesson? Everyone wanted gold. The people selling shovels got rich instead. But the California gold rush did something important. It flooded the U.S. economy with gold. And that gold helped fund something massive, the gold standard spreading worldwide. By the 1870s, something remarkable was happening. Germany adopted the gold standard, then France, then the United States, then Japan, then Russia. By 1900, nearly every major country on Earth was on the gold standard. Here's how it worked, explained like you're 5. Every paper dollar was a promise to pay gold. You could walk into any bank, hand them a $20 bill, and they'd give you a $20 gold coin. The paper was just a receipt. The real money was gold. This created something humanity had never seen before, a truly global economy. A merchant in London could trade with a merchant in Tokyo, and both trusted the money because both currencies were backed by gold. The whole world agreed to play by the same rules, and it worked beautifully. Between 1870 and 1914, international trade increased by 500%. 5 times more trade in just 40 years. Countries became interconnected, economies grew, technology advanced. This period, 1870 to 1914, is called the Beautiful Era or the Golden Age. It was one of the most peaceful, prosperous times in human history. Why? Because everyone trusted gold, so everyone trusted each other's money. For a brief moment in human history, gold united the world. Every country spoke the same monetary language. Trade flourished, economies grew. People believed the gold standard would last forever. They were wrong, because in 1914, everything collapsed. The gold standard died, and the world has never been the same. August 1914, World War I begins. Britain, France, Germany, Russia, all the major powers go to war. Wars are expensive, really expensive. You need to pay soldiers, build weapons, buy supplies. Countries need massive amounts of money. But here's the problem. The gold standard limits how much money you can print. You can only print as much money as you have gold to back it up. And wars need more money than anyone has gold. So countries made a decision, a shocking, world-changing decision. They abandoned the gold standard. Britain suspended gold convertibility. France did the same. Germany did the same.
Suddenly, you couldn't trade paper money for gold anymore. Instead, governments just printed money, as much as they needed, unlimited money for war. Imagine if your parents suddenly said monopoly money is real money now. That's basically what happened. And it worked, for a while. Countries funded the war with printed paper. But then came the consequences. By the 1920s, economies were shattered. Prices were insane. Germany had inflation so bad that people used money as wallpaper. Literally, it was cheaper to wallpaper your house than to buy wallpaper. In November 1923, a loaf of bread in Germany cost 200 billion marks. 200 billion for bread. People brought wheelbarrows full of cash to buy groceries. Money became worthless. Why? Because it wasn't backed by gold anymore. It was just paper, and governments had printed too much of it. Countries tried to bring the gold standard back in 1925, but it was like trying to rebuild a shattered vase. The pieces didn't fit anymore. Then 1929 hit. The stock market crashed. The Great Depression began. Banks failed, economies collapsed, and in 1933, something shocking happened in America. President Franklin Roosevelt signed Executive Order 6102. This order made it illegal for Americans to own gold. Let me repeat that. The government made it illegal to own gold. Americans were forced to sell their gold to the government for $20.67 per ounce. If you refused, 10 years in prison. Can you believe that? 10 years in prison for keeping your own gold? Why did the government do this? Because they wanted to print more money and they needed gold to do it. So they confiscated everyone's gold. And here's the fearful part. After Americans were forced to sell their gold for $20.67 per ounce, the government raised the official gold price to $35 per ounce. Overnight devaluation. Anyone who had sold their gold lost 40% of its value. Imagine the government forced you to sell your toys for $10, then the next day said actually those toys are worth $18. But you already sold them, too late. That's what happens to millions of Americans. World War II ends in 1945. The world is in ruins. Economies are destroyed. No one trusts paper money anymore. So in 1944, before the war even ended, countries met in Bretton Woods, New Hampshire to create a new system. The Bretton Woods Agreement went like this. The US dollar is tied to gold at $35 per ounce. Every other currency is tied to the US dollar. Foreign governments, not individuals, can trade dollars for gold from the US. This made the US dollar the world's reserve currency. USA became the world's banker. Everyone else just trusted America. And it worked. For 27 years, the system held. Why? Because the United States had 20,000 tons of gold sitting in Fort Knox, the biggest gold hoard in history. Everyone believed the US had enough gold to back all those dollars. But here's the problem. America started printing more dollars than they had gold. The 1960s. America is fighting the Vietnam War. That costs billions. America is funding social programs. That costs billions. America is competing with the Soviet Union in the space race. That costs billions. So America prints money to pay for it all. Other countries start to notice. France's president, Charles de Gaulle, does the math. He realizes, wait, America has printed way more dollars than they have gold. If everyone asks for their gold back, America can't pay. So de Gaulle sends French ships to America to collect France's gold, and America gives it to them. But de Gaulle starts a trend. Other countries want their gold too. America's gold reserves start shrinking. August 15, 1971. A Sunday evening. President Nixon appears on TV with a shocking announcement. We're closing the gold window. We will no longer exchange dollars for gold. Just like that, no warning, no discussion. For the first time in 5,000 years, money was not backed by gold. Money became just paper, backed by nothing except the government's promise that it's worth something. Imagine if lunch tickets stopped being worth lunch. They're just paper now, but everyone agreed to keep pretending they're valuable. That's exactly what happened. This was called the Nixon shock, and it changed everything. Since August 15, 1971, money has been fiat currency. That means it's money because the government says it's money, not because it represents anything real. It only works if everyone plays pretend together.
So what happened to gold? Well, gold didn't disappear. It's still here, but it's not money anymore. No country uses gold coins. You can't walk into a bank and trade dollars for gold. It's over. Yet, here's the strange part. Everyone still wants gold. Central banks, the people in charge of countries' money, own over 35,000 tons of gold. Why? If gold isn't money, why do they keep it? During the COVID-19 crash in March 2020, when people panicked and markets collapsed, what happened? Gold prices spiked. People ran to gold. During the inflation crisis in 2022, when prices went crazy and money seemed worthless, what happened? Gold prices spiked again. The pattern is clear. When people don't trust paper money, they run to gold. Why? Because of 5,000 years of human evolution, gold is programmed into our brains as real money. Here are some shocking facts about gold today. All the gold ever mined is worth about $12 trillion. 50% of it is jewelry, 40% is investment or in bank reserves, 10% is industrial in electronics, medicine, etc. Gold is not money, but everyone still treats it like it's special. The paradox: gold has no official role in the financial system, yet in 2023, central banks bought over 1,000 tons of gold. 1,000 tons in a single year. Why are central banks, the people who print paper money, buying gold? Because even they don't fully trust paper money. Think about that. The adults in charge keep buying gold even though they say gold doesn't matter anymore. What do they know that we don't? Let me ask you something that should keep you up at night. Modern money is just numbers in a computer. There's nothing backing it except the government's promise that it's worth something. What happens if that trust breaks? Some people predict we'll return to gold. They say fiat money always fails eventually. History shows every paper currency without gold backing has collapsed. Others say gold is an ancient relic. We don't need shiny rocks anymore. We have computers, we have Bitcoin, we have digital currencies. The truth? Nobody knows. We're living in an experiment. For 5,000 years, humans used gold as money. For 53 years, just 53 years, we've been trying something new, money backed by nothing but trust. Has it worked? Well, we haven't had a global gold standard for 53 years now. That's 53 years out of 5,000. That's 1% of gold's history. It's an experiment, and we're living in it right now. Maybe paper money is the future. Maybe we'll never need gold again. Maybe Bitcoin or digital currency will replace everything. Maybe in 1,000 years, people will study gold the way we study ancient seashells, as a primitive form of money that humanity outgrew. Or maybe when the next crisis hits, when trust breaks down, when governments fail, when computers crash, when paper burns, humanity will do what it's always done for 5,000 years. We'll reach for gold. Because some things never change. And for better or worse, gold is one of them. The question isn't whether gold was important. The evidence is overwhelming. The question is gold's story over? Or are we just in the middle of the longest chapter? I don't have the answer, but I do know this. If you want to understand money, you have to understand gold. And if you want to understand humans, you have to understand why we can't let go of a shiny rock that does nothing except remind us of everything.